Even in the crazy Coastal Division where 0-2 may not be a death sentence, it may be a good time to turn the season around like right now. Virginia Tech is the next opponent. They're really not very good. So, Miami, here's your opportunity to get it jump started. Hurricanes Live right here for the next 60 minutes. Bring those comments and questions, leave them in the live chat. We will talk some college football and focus on Miami, of course, with Cam Underwood from the State of the U. Cam, how we doing tonight?
I'm good. Can't complain. Got some salmon marinating, so I'm going to go bake that off when we're done here. But before that, we're going to spend a great hour together and talk about some Miami Hurricanes football. I don't know about that part being great, but I'll do what I can.
I have never tried personally to make salmon. I enjoy a good salmon. That's probably my next step, which even before this conversation, I have thought recently I need to go that route because it's enjoyable, but it's also a healthy meal for sure. So
Yeah, man. I mean, and honestly, for everybody out there, it's like, oh, I can't cook. Can you like read and follow directions? Then you can follow a good recipe, bro. Like that's how I got started cooking and everything, and I still do. Got a bunch of cookbooks. I just got a new cookbook when I went on vacation in July. Kwame Onwochi, sorry, his new cookbook. So man, like y'all, it's nice and easy. Trust me.
I started cooking. I remember it was in October, so it must have been 2 years ago that I started cooking.
Okay.
And not that I never cooked anything in my life, but on a regular basis, fairly regular
Right.
basis. And I was surprised what I was able to. That I was like, oh, this is pretty good. This
Yeah,
is
man.
actually pretty good. I can follow some directions and
See,
you can make it happen.
I would
Absolutely.
I would load if the Miami Hurricanes started cooking on the field. That would be great if we were able to do that.
If they
But
can follow directions.
and apparently that is something that we've struggled with. So, yeah, another loss this week to North Carolina. And y'all like that transition, that segue. Yeah, you're welcome. And everything. But man, it was still just not following directions, not doing our jobs on the field, right? So, first drive, third down, 74-yard touchdown up the sideline. Again and again, it was Cam Kinchins who, playing cover two, decided he thought he knew what they were going to run. And so he goes to jump that route. So he wants to, he went to go cheat, basically. He's like, I think I know what they're doing. I'm going to be Ed Reed, right? I'm going to eschew my responsibility and go do this because I think I saw it on film and I'm going to go make this play. Except for they weren't running what he thought they were. And it's Tyreek Stevenson, cover two corner, you're not going to carry that guy up the sideline. Your responsibility is that flat area. So you're looking for him to be there by the play call. So you didn't see him pointing on the field like it was the NCAA video game or something, right? But Stevenson carried him a little bit, let him go because there was somebody in front of him still. So he's like, cool, I'm going to go do this. Cam wanted to cheat, did that, 74 yards, boom. Kevin Steele, even on Monday, said, look, man, we're playing too high. That was the call. We're playing too high. He has the deep half. That's his job. Didn't follow directions like we're talking about in our cooking analogy, right? He didn't do what was dictated. Thought he knew better. Man, Coach Steele don't know. I see this. I'm going to do this. I mean, and that's a thing you can do. It just cost Miami 7 points. So it's just and there's been more than a couple of those, and the last couple of times it's been Cam Kinchins. So yes, he had interception in the game. Yes, he's a really good player. He's one of our best safeties and everything. But again, one person, not doing their job on one play cost him 7 points.
Was there anything from a coaching standpoint on either side of the ball that you weren't necessarily pleased with? The approach, the scheme, the play calling?
Early, I would say the first 2.5 quarters, third down defense. I just thought we tried to do the same kind of thing and it wasn't working, even with the pass rush, like you gotta eventually get to throttle down and not get past the level of the quarterback because he's athletic and he's able to step up and find that space. He hurt us with that a couple of times. And then just like not being situationally aware, again, Kevin Steele spoke to this on Monday. He's like, in the game, there was like a 3rd and 9 and a 3rd and 11 on that long drive that they had. They got 10 yards on the 3rd and 9 and they're 12 yards on the 3rd and 11. And I was tweeting at the time, I said, this is a ball game play. This is a play for the game. People are like, man, it's 7-8 minutes left in the game. I said, we got to get the ball back. We cannot let them have the ball for 8 minutes. They had the ball for 8 minutes. There were chances afterwards and blah, blah, blah. But even up until that point in the fourth quarter, it was they were really cooking us on money downs, 3rd downs and 4th downs. We didn't make them punt until I don't even know when, to be honest. It was in the second half, I want to say, for sure. Maybe. Let me see. Touchdown, downs, touchdown, interception, field goal, punt. Yeah, they didn't punt until the almost fourth quarter. It was 58 seconds left in the third until they punted. We just weren't able to get off the field. In terms of offensively, we got to find a run game, any semblance of a run game. And I know that teams are going to try to take away the run. I know they're going to crash and, they're going to just bring everybody up from the, second level. Linebackers are going to shoot gaps, against the various schemes. And, we mix man and zone blocking schemes. But some of them are slow developing, like if you're running a power play or a GT, counter or something, you're bringing guys from one side of the line to the other, and they might be athletic enough to do it, but they're not the most athletic guys in the world. And regardless, there are keys that you can read. I mean, if you see these, what play is that? Vince Wilfork, Leon Washington, that play that I'm talking about where he just destroys him in the backfield. I believe they're running a power play, and Vince just goes, as soon as the guard in front of me leaves, I'm going off of his hip, like here. And you're not going to be able to down block. You're not going to be able to get to me because as soon as he moves, I'm going off of his back hip through. And you see a lot of that from the other team's defensive line when they play Miami, right? And you just can't. Look, Tyler Van Dyke almost 500 yards passing. 3 touchdowns, an interception on the last play of the game that was tipped because we rushed to the line because Julio Skinner didn't get out of bounds like he needed to. Not saying it was perfect, but, Tyler Van Dyke looked like Tyler Van Dyke, finally. You know what I mean? 42 out of 57, you're talking 75% completions. That's that dude, right? But even if you scale that down by a third, you're still at 340 yards with probably 3 touchdowns, all that. We can throw the ball, even with Tyler missing some throws, even with a couple bad drops. Being able to run the ball is a problem still. And Miami wants to be physical, and Cristobal wants to be physical. And even against Middle Tennessee, but the last 2 games especially, every time we've tried to run inside the 10, it's been a poster for get in the weight room because the line of scrimmage is reset 2 yards in the backfield every single time. You want to fake they've run exotic stuff. It has not just been the inside zone read that we've seen, since Al Golden was here. And that was like the only option in the run game, right? They brought jet motion. They tried to, hit them with a wide zone to the short side of the field. We've tried to run power. We've tried to run counter. We've tried to run. I mean, there's been a diversity of scheme in the run game inside the 10. It don't matter because if you cannot block the man in front of you, if you're going backwards and all of a sudden at the snap of the ball, you're a yard, 2, 3 in the backfield, regardless of which offensive lineman it is, that's not good enough. So I love the development. I love the changes during the game, right? The adjustments, especially on defense, because it was really close to getting out of hand there for a moment. But really good developments on defense. We started doing our jobs. We started not overrunning things. We started not cheating things. Got a couple of turnovers. That was great. Passing game took a while, but finally when it got a little bit tenuous there, like I was talking about, almost got out of hand, we just said, hey, Tyler, throw the ball. Throw it. And you can see that we can do it, But yeah, the running game on offense, it's real bad. I mean, 23 carries for 41 yards, 1.8 yards per carry. That's real bad. That's real bad. Wow. The ancient mariner himself, Dominic Brown, who once I heard swam all the way around the world by himself, calling me old. Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. Wow. I mean, it wasn't that far of a swim, though, because it was still Pangea, like the continents hadn't separated. So it was really just going around the corner. But hey, cool. Welcome. Good to see you, buddy.
That's great.
Oh, wait.
Yeah,
and also, while I'm shouting people out, met somebody who watches the show religiously. His name's Andre. Met him at the tailgate on Saturday. Said I was going to shout him out. Andre and everybody, we appreciate you watching. If you see me at a tailgate or you see me at the stadium or anywhere around South Florida, because I live down here, come and say what's up. I'm a nice guy. I won't, yell at you or scream at you, but I want to specifically shout out Andre because, like I said, I saw him, met him in person. Great dude. Everybody who's out there watching, really, really, really honestly and truly appreciate you.
I'm right there with you. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. We've done this for 281 weeks and or 281 shows. And way before that, Kim and I were recording segments and doing other live shows. So we've been doing this for a long, long time. Appreciate you all being here, making this work. So there's a number of ways you can support us. So I think you probably know what those are. Hit the like button, share the videos out on social media, spread the word. Super Chat is open and ready. I believe should be available to you. Certainly let us know because it happens. It happened during our Oklahoma show today that somebody said, I don't have the ability to send a super chat. So I know that sometimes there's just a quirky situation where whatever with YouTube. And so I will double check that, make sure that's activated, but super chat's available to you. Yeah, you got to think that 57 passes and 24 runs doesn't sit well with Mario Cristobal.
No, not at all.
He doesn't want to play that kind of game.
He doesn't want to, but I mean, it became a matter of necessity, on Saturday. Like we just could not run the ball. And, you get a turnover on downs at the 1 yard line and then give up the 99-yard touchdown drive behind that, but like, I get it. You said, no, we're going to line up and we're going to block them. We're going to move them. We're going to create space and we're going to get in the end zone. Nope. It took a while. I saw the comment somebody earlier was talking about that fade touchdown to Colby Young. Hey, Colby Young is going to play. Well, first of all, he needs to play more, but he's going to play more. 6'5", 215, JUCO transfer with 3 years of eligibility left. I mean, we need a big receiver. And I was saying that and saying that and saying that and saying that. And people were like, well, Frank Latson's 6'4". Frank Latson doesn't play 6'4", because we threw a fade towards him earlier along the same sideline. And he was waiting for the ball to come down to him, and it's funny. Lamar Thomas was in the press box and he was beside himself. He was going crazy. You gotta go. I mean, like, hey, like, I'm not going to tell you not to root, but I mean, you gotta go. He was Lamar Thomas, Miami Hurricane legend, like NFL wide receiver, like has coached wide receivers in multiple, colleges around that Lamar Thomas. I'm going crazy because Frank Latson doesn't play 6'4". So if you have the height, but you don't use it, what use is it? It's like when Scott Mitchell was quarterbacking my Detroit Lions and he's 6'6", 6'7", but he threw from this low, exactly. You have this almost underhanded sidearm release point. If you're releasing the ball like you're a 5'6" quarterback and you're 6'6", what matter? I mean, if you're throwing over the top, I'm not saying that has to go directly over the top, like, that, like you're Clayton Kershaw or something with that kind of release point. But yeah, you're doing this and everything. So, oh well, yeah, well, he's 6'6", he's 6'7". What functional utility does that have? None, right? So what functional utility does Frank Ladson 6'4" have? Not a whole lot. Now, Frank Ladson played well. I think in general, he made a really nice couple of catches with his hands, really, ball, thrown towards the sideline. He just goes and snatches it out of the air. Great, cool. But when you throw the ball up a little bit, and we need you to moss somebody, we need you to big boy somebody, right? You're supposed to be that receiver because of your stature, and you don't do that. We need somebody to do that. I've been saying that for a long, long time. Enter Colby Young, right? Boom. Hey, cool. Let's get it. And honestly, I think at this point, participation trophies be damned. That wide receiver rotation needs to be short. It needs to be Brashard Smith, Keyshawn Smith, Frank Ladson, Colby Young, and Jacoby George when he gets back. It's about it, honestly. I mean, and well, Restrepo if and when he comes back. But yeah, other than that, I'm rolling with those four. That's and then Jaleel Skinner, Will Mallory, because Elijah Arroyo's out for the year, unfortunately. But yeah, outside of that, like the rotation needs to get real. Yeah, it needs to get real short. And I did not mention somebody who currently starts. Sorry.
Hurricanes Live, folks, here every Wednesday, 7 o'clock Eastern Time, here at the Voice of College Football. Cam makes it go. Check out Cam's work and the rest of the staff there at State of the U as the Canes get ready for Virginia Tech, a pretty awful football team. They got whipped up by, I'm getting my games mixed up. They lost to Pitt this past week. Yeah, they were up by double digits in 2 scores, and they lost the game by 16, lost to North Carolina by 31. This should be a game that Miami should be able to take.
Should, but you got to go out there and play. And they got scholarships too, and they play for pride too. And I'm sure that, they're looking at Miami and saying, it's if you get mesmerized by the name on the jersey, yeah. But if you look at what they put on the field this year, it's not really much of a mismatch. You know what I mean? This is a very, I think the line was like 7. This will probably, unfortunately, be a close game, which doesn't bode well for my enjoyment of things on Saturday, but whatever.
So this run game situation, we're talking about a team that you spit the stats out and it's ugly. It wasn't ugly just a few weeks ago against one of the more talented front sevens in college football at Texas A&M.
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, they're just defenses are selling out against the run. It looks like 2017 Pittsburgh. Or, I mean, a couple of teams tried that. Carolina tried that in 2017. We're going to make you throw the ball to beat us. And eventually we hit one throw, and then Pittsburgh came and we didn't hit any throws, but they are pretty much everybody now, following that Middle Tennessee blueprint. Look, we are bringing it. So, basically just hype up the D-line. Their own line. They want to be tough. They're soft as Charmin. So, linebackers and safeties walking down, pick a gap and go. And you're going to find somebody there. We're going to read our run keys and see what they do. And then we're going to be there to combat that. And there's not been a counterpunch from Miami. Now, last week, Ja'Kai Clark and Justice Oluwaseun both got injured on consecutive plays. Both got up and walked directly into the locker room through the tunnel in the middle of the stadium. Ja'Kai Clark should be good. Justice Oluwaseun, he has a more significant injury. Cristobal said that multiple times when asked this week. Yeah, it's going to be a while, if at all, this season that we see Justice Oluwaseun, who was not really playing well. But it's kind of the thing, be careful of wishing for the W don't know versus the W do, because he was out there for a reason. And Isaac Sakapolu has some ability in the run game, but in the pass game struggles a little bit. But hey, your starting center and right guard both go down. Your starting should be found franchise left tackle is out, and in Zion Nelson, Cristobal said he's a game time decision in Blacksburg. I mean, that's cool and all, but he's not playing. I'll be shocked if Zion Nelson plays. So you got you're down 4 starters. Well, you're down 3, and then you moved 1 somewhere else, right? So Zion Nelson now, Justice Oluwaseun, and Ja'Kai Clark. Ja'Kai Clark is back, or will be back. Now, if you talk about the optimal, I think, O-line would be DJ Scaife kicking inside to right guard, and then John Campbell at right tackle and Zion Nelson at left tackle. But Zion's out, John Campbell's on the left side. And now you can say, hey, Cam, he's been starting at left tackle all year. That's our starting left tackle. So we're down 2.5 instead of 3. Fine. But then you're miscasting Scaife and putting him out there. So you're not, even the 5 that you have isn't in the places where you really want to have them. So when you start to look at it, you see why Cristobal has 5 offensive linemen committed. You're going after Samson Okunlola still. And I would wager you're going to get a couple transfers because, the offensive line has had a rough go of it. So in terms of getting the run game going, first of all, I think that we've just put on tape who we are, like pretty fully in the run game, and people have combated that. And then secondarily, you have a little bit of an injury situation, and and you're missing blocks, and you got running backs, not following the play, and Cristobal said this after the game. He was like, yeah, we tried to run outside zone in one of the goal to go situations, but you're supposed to read this, you're supposed to go here. But, again, trying to be a hero, he's like, okay, well, I'm not going to read that key. I'm going to actually go here because I think better. But then you don't see that second, third level defender scraping over into that gap. But if you would have followed it, then you would have walked in, but you didn't. So now we got, it's all those kind of things. So, to Devin Ray's question, I think that we're going to have to throw the ball to open up the run game a little bit more. We tried a couple screens. One was, I think one was like dropped as in like the ball was there, but just dropped by the receiver. One was also thrown away because it was blown up by the defense. I don't know if you want to add in bubbles or now screens, or, you just want to keep throwing the ball 60 times a game, but you're going to put a lot of mesh crossers and try to get guys on man-to-man and, throw it short and let them run long. Yeah, but I think that you're going to have to find ways to utilize the passing game to open up the running game. And maybe, taking some shots early now that you think, okay, we've seen Colby Young take a guy up top. Let's have him do that first or second drive, take the pressure off, release that valve of the defense, a little bit, and then do something like that. Or, hey, Brashard Smith is super fast. Maybe throw, a ball to him down the seam. Keyshawn Smith, he's a great vertical threat as well. Throw the ball vertically, do something to, just release that pressure, and then maybe you can get there. But also, you're going to have to block it up.
I got to swash this conversation in the chat. Come on. So there's a back and forth in the chat about Manny Diaz, the defensive coordinator currently at Penn State, and people making comments that Penn State's defense must have been trash last year and they were horrible and all this other stuff. Whoa. Hang on. Wait a minute. Penn State was 9th in the nation. I just looked this up. I didn't need to look it up necessarily, but I just want to make sure I got the exact number. They were 9th in the nation in yards per play defensively, and they played Ohio State, Michigan State, Auburn, Arkansas, Maryland. And on top of that, they had 6 players drafted off that defense, and they're going to have 3 or 4 that could have gone that are still there. I don't know where you're getting this. And they were so good on defense last year, their defensive coordinator got a top job at Virginia Tech, Brent Pry.
Brent Pry, their coach, was the DC there last year.
So, yeah. So anyway. All right. Is there anybody on this team, and we will let Cam take care of business there, and remind everyone, hey, it's Hurricanes Live, and we know that you enjoy it, but guess what? Other people could enjoy it because of you letting them know. So so many people I know he's world famous, but there is a limit to Cam's celebrity out there. So there are people out there that don't know that Cam's around talking college football with us each and every Wednesday. Not everyone knows that we are here at the Voice of College Football. So there are people that you run into on social media and otherwise that don't know that we've got this going every Wednesday night. So please let them know that this is the place to be for college football discussion, and Miami first and foremost, of course, but we've got college football fan bases represented from all over the place here. So please join us each and every Wednesday night and tell your friends. Is there a player? Miami is 2-3, correct? With the record?
That is unfortunately correct.
To admit that. So unlike most of the country has 6 games played right now. So I'm thinking I'm kind of in that mindset of mid-season grades, but we can pick that up next week. But I still will ask the question if there's a player to take this from a more positive standpoint, somebody that's flashed a little bit more than you expected, somebody that's, a young guy that's gotten a little bit more playing time this year on either side of the ball that you're like, yeah, I'm really, really happy with what I've seen there.
Nigel Kelly, defensive end from Dillard High School. The kid's a freak. He looks like he's going to be really, really good. I'm not going to put a modifier, qualifier on it. Like, he looks like he's going to be really, really good. Still 17 years old, by the way, has not yet turned 18. Because somebody, actually, I saw people talking about this on the timeline because Cristobal was asked directly about young guys stepping up today, and he said, Nigel and Wesley Bassane also. So I would say runner-up, there, and some other guys. But yeah, man, like Nigel Kelly, he's played in every game, and not just like consolation prize, participation trophy snaps. Okay, it's the last 2 snaps of the game, and we're going to bring you in. You know what they did with Nkosi Perry when they first started playing him? We're going to bring you in for the last drive, and you're going to hand it off or kneel it down 2 times. And cool. So you played well today. I didn't play, coach. Like, I went out there and did something that the starter could have done, but I was on the field and not on the sidelines. Fine. Those are not the snaps that Nigel Kelly's getting. Like, he's getting, first down, second down, third down. First quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, that last drive, like fully, rotating and everything. Nigel Kelly, I would say, of the true freshmen, man, yeah, him and then Jaleel Skinner, just starting to really step into a role, obviously, with Elijah Arroyo going down for the year. Dominic Mammarelli, being more of a blocking tight end, so he's not really going to be somebody you're going to target a lot in the passing game. But I would say, so on offense, Jaleel Skinner; on defense, Nigel Kelly, with the honorable mention to Wesley Bassane.
Yes, Dirty Cane thing. Yes, Penn State was 7-6 last year, and Manny Diaz wasn't there for that. They did get their quarterback hurt after a 5-0 start, so let's understand that. All right. Kenneth Wayne's asking, what's the potential of Chance Williams with this team? His parents sit right next to me at home games.
Chance Williams has all the physical ability. He just needs to kind of step up more in his production. He's another guy who is, big and physical, lengthy. So, long arms, quick twitch athlete. Jacksonville Oakleaf High School, he was teammates with Jalen Rivers, the probably best offensive lineman that we have. So they would go up against each other in practice. When we were recruiting them, I made the analogy to Malcolm Lewis and Tracy Howard at Miramar going up against each other every day in practice, because I worked at Miramar at the time and I saw it. But, look, it happens all the time. You got a great guy at one position and probably an equal and opposite, or hopefully near, on the team. Chance Williams has the physical ability. He has not translated potential into performance, even in the way that Nigel Leak has done to this point of his career. So if he's able to put it together, I think that he can be, a quality rotation guy. I don't have it in front of me. I believe he's played in a lot of these games. He just hasn't done much. So, that's really kind of where it comes from. But yeah, I think that he still has potential, but again, eventually, potential to a player is like, how friend is a 4-letter word when you're like into somebody. Hey, friend. No. Potential gets people fired. You know what I mean? So you need to eventually turn that into production and performance. So that's his big challenge and everything. But I mean, he was a top probably like 125 player in the country, 4-star recruit, 6'4", 230. Like, I mean, like, this is a kid who, I mean, gets off the bus, looks the part, So, and shout out to Prop Joe from The Wire, look the part, be the part. He got the look the part down. He got to be the part. And that's the journey that he's on.
Yes, Chance Williams right now has 8 total tackles, and he also has 1.5 tackles for loss and a fumble recovery this season.
Yeah, so, he's playing, but not like, I mean, he's not playing Nigel Lee Kelly snaps, but he's also not performing like Nigel Lee Kelly in the snaps that he's gotten. So, again, it's incumbent upon him to do the work and make the strides. But the potential, the physicality, the pedigree, all of that, the athleticism, the size, all of that is there. The coaching, because if you're seeing players, plural, along the defensive line really stand out, Akeem Mesidor, 3rd highest pass rush grade in the country, or from Pro Football Focus. You know what I mean? For any defensive end. Nigel Lee Kelly, we already talked about. We see other guys on the defensive line eating. Maybe talk to them and find out what the secret sauce is, but it's not like, we're not doing the work. We're not developing these guys. We're not seeing these guys even right now this year doing these things that we want and need to see him do. But again, on many, many levels, it can be there. But there's a quality, the ineffable quality of greatness where you just kind of have to synthesize that and put that together. Hopefully he's able to. But I think it'd be a lot of reasons why he could.
Tim, we so much appreciate your super chat contribution. Appreciate our USC guy, Tim, who does a tremendous job on USC post game here at the Voice of College Football over on the USC channel. Tim also has put together a Pac-12 show that they do here at the Voice of College Football on the main channel on Wednesday night. They have a great time, and they're between Tim and Tony and Ben and all those guys that knock that out over on the main channel. They do a phenomenal job. And Tim, thanks so much for checking on our super chat. I didn't mean that you needed to contribute, but thank you for that, Tim. And I was just checking on that. New King God, appreciate you also contributing here. Would you want TVD to come back next year or move on to Jake? I'm ready to move on after this year.
I'm open to either, honestly. The way that the season is going, I'm not really thinking that Tyler's going to leave, but winning games in college is not a prerequisite to going to the NFL. And if you can separate yourself from the thought that wins are a quarterback stat, right? He does not have to do that. It's not like, okay, I need to do I need to win these games. So now you probably do want to win those games because then you can, talk about momentum and, being a captain and champion and everything or winning games, because quarterback is not like every other position. Quarterback is de facto an extension of management. You know what I mean? At every level. Like, they're the ones who are going to do the big press conferences and things. Like, they're the ones who are going to talk more. Like, you're going to have management, like the ownership aligned with, and then with the quarterback, and the quarterback is going to be the one who they put in front of the people because you know him to propagate that message. All these things, so it's really important. That's a really important position. And like I was saying, potential gets you fired. Hey man, quarterbacks will get you fired at the next level. So I say all of that to say, if Tyler believes that another year here is his best option, I am not pulling a what was the coach at NC State? Tom O'Brien. I'm not pulling a Tom O'Brien with Russell Wilson, right? If you don't know that story, Russell Wilson was drafted in the baseball draft, and he played quarterback at NC State for 3 years. But he was a fourth-year junior. And Tom O'Brien thought, well, he thought that Russell Wilson was going to go play baseball. He was like, oh, well, I'm just going to move on to Sean Glennon at quarterback. He wanted to go to Sean Glennon. So then Russell Wilson was like, cool, coach. So fifth-year senior coming back. Like, we just had a 9-win season. This could be great. Da, 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 da. And unequivocally, and this is substantiated by everyone, Tom O'Brien told Russell Wilson, seek shelter elsewhere. You will not be playing here next year. Wherever you want to go transfer, I will help. But you will not be playing here this year because we're going to this kid and he's going to run our offense. And then you saw what happened, and that ended up getting him fired, right? Like, we thought, hey, quarterbacks will get you fired. This is what I'm talking about. So I am not pulling a Tom O'Brien, and I'm not telling Tyler Van Dyke if he wants to come back. I am not telling him, look, seek shelter elsewhere. I will call any single coach, but you got to go. In seats taken. I am not doing that, right? And I know a lot of people want us to do that. Now, if Tyler Van Dyke does believe that his journey should continue with another year here at Miami, be prepared to lose Jake Garcia. I was literally saying it as the chat from Michael Long. Jake will leave if TVD comes back. I think I'm down to, have it be a position battle. Like, whoever best man wins the job, and we ride. One of those dudes is going to go because you're going to have a fourth-year player in Tyler Van Dyke and a third-year player in Jake Garcia. And the prospect of either leaving the prospect of, it would be a challenge because I think that Ja'Cory Brown needs another couple mango seasons. Like, even watching him in warmups, he is big and strong and has this incredible arm, but like, he ain't ready for prime time, buddy. He is not ready to, to throw that ball like we need the quarterback position to throw the ball. And regardless of who leaves, you're one snap away from the Ja'Cory Brown show, which would have some great episodes, but would also have some challenging moments. I'm Switzerland, honestly. I don't really care one way or the other. There are positives and negatives to either one. Tyler versus Jake going into next year. Obviously, the demonstrated work product and performance of Tyler Van Dyke is the biggest positive. Strong as Tyler's arm is, I think Jake's arm is maybe even a tick stronger. He's a little bit more mobile, especially as you're developing this offensive line. So, and I'm not saying that he's going to be Lamar Jackson about it, but maybe if he can be Drake May athletic, which I think he can, right? So you're escaping a little bit of pressure, you're extending plays, you're rolling out, you run for 12 or 13 yards if they play man free and everybody's back is turned to you. That could be really helpful, right? So I think that there are positives and negatives either way. I struggle to see the calculus to where both Tyler and Jake return next year. I can't see that. That's a puzzle that I can't solve, because in reality, you're going so far down, into their careers, and you get a free transfer still, right? Through the transfer portal. Now you can't enter the portal right now because they have the windows and but you can declare, hey, look, I'm not playing here anymore. I'm going somewhere else. And you also run the risk, if both of them do come back, of a Trevor Lawrence, Kelly Bryant, 4 games and then dip. De'Aaron King, who actually did that of his own volition at Houston, 4 games, and he said, look, nah, I'm good. I'm going to sit out the rest of this year, preserve my red shirt, or preserve my year of eligibility to transfer somewhere else. I don't think, and it's a good problem to have. But, well, first of all, I don't see a way where both of them come back. And I'm putting all my eggs in the Ja'Cory Brown basket because Ja'Cory Brown's also been here. But if you get Emory Williams and Jaden Rashada on campus, then that adds quality depth. Now, I'm not saying I want to lean on a true freshman, and I keep bringing up the backups because you're one snap away in an injury from the starter being gone, like we're seeing. So, yeah, that's a multifaceted conversation. But yeah.
Falconer X, we missed you. Haven't seen you for a few weeks, I don't think. Appreciate you being here, of course. And thanks so much for that. New King God coming back with, I think TBD only throws to 2 players, while Jake will spread it around better.
That's verifiably false. He had completions to 9 players against Middle Tennessee. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 again against North Carolina. That's a narrative that you bring up that is not substantiated by the play on the field, right? I would like to see him throw more to some other guys. Now, if you're saying he's force feeding the ball to Will Mallory too much, I will give you that. I agree with that. But it's not just 2 guys. And honestly, the big thing that has changed the distribution from really just 2 guys is the fact that one of those guys has a broken foot in Xavier Restrepo. So he's not playing. So I want to look for 7. We've, been on, working together, and we have that camaraderie, that chemistry. 7's on the sideline of street clothes and crutches. So I know 85, but then I've said, Brashard Smith is the new security blanket because he literally plays the same position as Xavier Restrepo. Great. But, you also need guys to win routes. So, Colby Young won a couple routes, got 3 catches. You know what I mean? Cool. Let's give him the ball some more. Let's find ways to get Keyshawn Smith the ball some more. And he did take a couple big hits and kick returns, so he missed a couple plays of the drives because he's the number 1 kick returner and he has a kickoff return for a touchdown. So, you're not going to take him off of there. But if he gets hit hard, like he did against North Carolina, and it's going to take 2 or 3 plays, those are routes that he's not running. So, yeah, but I get the perception that Tyler is only throwing to, guys. But Frank Latson had 8 catches. Henry Parrish had 7. Brashard Smith, 5. Mike Redding, 4. Jaleel Skinner and Colby Young off the bench, 3 and 3. Jalen Knight and Keyshawn. I mean, it's just the distribution has improved and increased. So I just disagree with the premise of that. But if you're thinking, okay, it's going to be just more of a normal distribution with Jake, I think maybe to some point that could be true. But you also need dudes. And if I have a dude, I'm throwing that dude the ball. There was no problem last year when the distribution was heavily skewed towards Charleston Rambo and Mike Harley, right? If I bring up the stats real quick, I don't have them memorized. Sorry. But if we go Miami, Florida, we go last year, and then we go receiving. Yeah. 79 catches for Charleston Rambo, a Miami record. 57 for Mike Harley as he set the career record. 33 for Keyshawn Smith. 30 for Will Mallory. And then a couple 20s. And then that's pretty much it out of the 295 completions. Wasn't nobody complaining that Mike Harley had nearly double the catches of the next highest guy. Nobody was complaining that Charleston Rambo had the most individual catches of any Miami Hurricanes receiver in the history of this storied program. Nobody cared and said, okay, well, those 2 dudes got 80 plus 50 is 130, had 135-ish, almost, had 135 something catches between the 2 of them out of the 295. So they're getting close to half of the catches on the year going to 2 dudes. There was no problem with that. Why? Because those dudes went out there and they made plays. So if you're making more plays, I think that you'll care less about the distribution, but also I believe the distribution to be more even than the perception.
Absolutely. And the stats don't lie. They just need to be put into context. Falcon Rex, without offense and defense, the QB does not matter. Well, somewhat. I get the point.
Yeah, right. I mean, we're working on it, but it's just one of those things.
Where was I? I was late to the party because I I had called this up, but I had all sorts of videos running, on that page with audio, and I'm hitting mute and trying to get rid of the windows and all of that other business. But yeah, when you got Rambo with 79 and Mike Harley with 57, it reminds me of, now this was maybe the most egregious distribution I've ever seen in my life. Who was the Vandy receiver that actually made it to the league and played? Shoot, I can't remember. 5 years ago.
Jordan Cunningham, yeah.
This dude he had like 100 catch seasons at Vandy, and like the next guy would have like 11 catches. Like it was like unbelievable how much they just threw it to him. And he was the only guy they had. It was funny.
I swore.
Yeah, we're talking about maybe about 5 years ago. Cunningham, that doesn't.
Jordan Matthews,
yes. Jordan Matthews.
Yeah, absolutely. Jordan Cunningham also played, and he was the brother of a student of mine at one point. But yeah, in 2013, Jordan Matthews had 112 catches. The next other wide receiver had 42, and nobody else even had 20. So
that was in what year? 13?
13 for Vanderbilt,
yeah.
And then in 12, it was 94-50. So it wasn't like, a great distribution then either. So yeah, but I mean, again, if you have guys, if you have dudes, throw them the ball. When what was the name of the coach? Mike Tice was coaching the Minnesota Vikings. Yeah. They famously had the Randy ratio, because out of every 3 balls or 5 balls thrown, 3 of them got to go to Randy. That's the ratio, because we got Randy over there. You know what I mean? And I was saying that about Amon Richards when Amon Richards, was playing here. Look, I'm not saying that it needed to be exactly the Randy ratio, but what we need to do is throw that man the ball, because 82 is better than everybody else, right? I think that, the focus on a couple guys was for comfort this year, because we didn't have any real dudes at wide receiver, but hopefully we're going to build that. But, yeah, I think the distribution is a little bit better than you're giving it credit for. And hopefully if guys start stepping up, then they will earn that.
Which is another aspect of what makes quarterbacking at that level so difficult, because you walk up to I was going to say up to the line, but they never walk up to the line anymore. But they get there in their position, and they're looking over. They know what the play is. They know what the routes are or the route concepts, at least for their receivers.
Mm-hmm.
And then they know they're looking at the defense, which is more about coverage, but it's also about, okay, where's this blitz coming from? So if this blitz is coming from here, there might be something right behind those guys that's going to be open. And they're trying to process all that. And what the play dictates versus what you're talking about, that even though the play is telling me and the coverage is telling me that as I take that snap and I give it a look, but I know I got this dude and he's there. So I'm trying to balance what makes sense versus what may just flat out just make sense because I got that guy. So,
right, exactly.
Yeah, I've just always thought toughest position in sports to play. Toughest thing to do is hit a baseball. The toughest singular functional thing to do and do it successfully is hit a baseball that's moving in all sorts of different directions. So don't go to your local batting cage and try to prove me wrong. That's not real baseball. But to process everything that a quarterback has to at the level of a high level collegiate quarterback or an NFL quarterback, with all the chaos that's going on around them, with 300-pound dudes throwing each other around while you're trying to figure out what and I've stated this before, where it really comes home for me is when you get that that overview shot from above and behind the offense, and you realize what that coverage receiver combination looked like when the quarterback decided to throw the ball versus what it ended up being, because he had to envision what's that window going to look like, 2.6 seconds from now when that ball arrives.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool stuff. All right, folks. I think that will do it. Virginia Tech, Miami coming up. What do we have? I'm going to guess an ESPN2 game.
Is it?
I haven't looked. That's just a guess.
I forget. It is computer.
It is a ESPN
regional sports. Yes. So the next 2 weeks, that's right, are on Bally's Sports South. If you live down here, or I don't know any other regional sport network such as that, but yeah. So 12:30 regional sports. So Bally Sports South. This is a big game. Like
Here it is.
I was kind of debating bringing it up before this week, but if we don't win this game, we win in 6. Like bowl eligibility is 6 wins, guys, and we need 4 in the remaining 7. So, I mean, is it possible? Yes, absolutely. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's not, but like, we got to take a step before we can run, kind of thing. And you need that, and I saw somebody else was like, yeah, this one game today is the difference between 8-4 and 6-6 on the year. And like, either way, you really got to count this one as a win. You really have to find a way to, to figure it out come hell or high water, man. You know what I mean? Like, it's getting late early this season, and I know that Chris Ball, it's been asked about talent acquisition and everything, which is just the corporate jargon for recruiting. And you're going to get that from, the high school ranks and also from the transfer portal and things like that. But, yeah, it's going to take some time to get this roster fully like you want it to be. But does the roster need to be fully like you want it or need it to be to beat Middle Tennessee and not give up a performance the likes of which we've not seen from a group of 5 team in terms of vertical explosive passing in 20, 30 years or more? You know what I mean? Like, do you need All-Americans at every position to prevent that? And Virginia Tech, I know that Miami is not having the season that they desire. I know that they're not having a season that's really worth writing home about, but like, you got to figure it out. You got to figure it out on Saturday. Like, there's no excuse and there's no moral victory. There's no, like, it needs to be an actual earned win. It has to be, we scored more points than them in this game of football that took place on Saturday, the 22nd or the 15th in Blacksburg. Like, that's just what it simply has to be.
We talk about this all the time, that there have been dudes throughout the history of college football from the coaching ranks that immediately when they step on campus, the team's better.
Yeah.
Even though they inherit the same team that went whatever they went the year before, just because by their sheer ability to organize and recruit a great coaching staff and just their sheer leadership, ability to coach, scheme, everything that they can do and assemble the staff that can do it, they just make. But in this day and age with the transfer portal, there's even less of an excuse for a first-year coach because they're able to at least, back in the old days, meaning 3 years ago, you inherited what you inherited. And you were going to have minimal contribution from your freshman class that you helped to recruit maybe a little bit, but you basically had to go with somebody else's guys. And we've seen a number of examples of a great coach just being able to turn 6-6 into 10-2. But now, there's Akeem Essador, and there's Henry Parrish, and there are dudes that you were able to acquire from other teams that are legitimate, all conference level type players. So there's less of an excuse these days that, okay, well, it's our first year, it's a honeymoon, and we can't improve until I get my guys. The situation at Oklahoma currently, I'm like, my goodness, how in the world?
Yeah, that's I mean, I like I've said, I know that the quarterback position is singular, but like, man, like, Dylan Gabriel went down, and then everything came apart at the seams. I mean, obviously it did 49-0 against Texas last week, in case you're wondering what we're talking about. But I mean, you get blown out in the Red River Shootout and things like that, and it looks bad, and the defense there has not been great. He lost to K-State before that, and it's yeah, but Venables hasn't been a head coach before, and that's a big job. Cristobal has been a head coach before, and I mean, this is a big job. So, whatever. But you were at Oregon before, and everything. So, yeah, and it just, I didn't think that this was a gut reno. You know what I mean? I thought this was an update and a facelift here, and just do some, if you want to change the interior stylings of whatever, and change your finishes and your cabinet colors and countertops, sure, but like, no, we're tearing down drywall and down to the studs, and we're going to take out all the electrical, all the piping, all the the plumbing, everything that's in there, and either start from scratch with that, or we just tore this house down to the ground. We raised it basically, and then we're going to rebuild from scratch. I did not believe that this program was in that state of disrepair, but
I didn't either.
I think that that's the method and manner in which things are being approached from the staff, and that's maybe a little troubling. But I mean, we're already tearing the house down at this point. It's not like you can undo that. So you got to find a way to move forward. But, a step along that path has to be a win on Saturday. And I know that, there's a lot of recruits that are in this class talking about, hey, we're in this. We are dedicated to the University of Miami. We want to change the trajectory of this program, which is everybody's like, well, Saban lost to ULM his first year at Alabama. Fine, cool. All right. But like I said, one of the component pieces, if you say that, is then you're saying that this class is going to stay intact and add elite players, plural, to the group as currently put together. Fine. So you're getting a lot of guys that are saying, the right things, but eventually you got to win games, man. And that Carolina game was imminently winnable. Which is really a testament even to how things are going, because that was teetering on the edge of being a blowout. It was close there to really getting out of hand. You make it winnable, you don't win, right? But you made it winnable. A&M, very winnable. Middle Tennessee, much as I hate to say it, that game was not winnable. You got your doors blown off, right? But you got to find a way. And again, it's an ACC Coastal, your second Coastal game and things like that. And way back, an hour ago, Mark said, 0-2 in the Coastal is not terminal to the season, but 0-2 in the Coastal, that's a 4-game losing streak. That means we haven't won since the second week of September, if that's how things go, right? That's really, really putting yourself behind the 8 ball. So, and I hate to say it like that. This right now is basically when I was saying in the third quarter, this is the game on the line and we need this stop. Cam, you're overreacting. Da, 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 da. All right, let me overreact then. Like if we disagree and you think that I'm overreacting, fine. But like this game this week is such a big game for this staff, this group, this program, this season, next year even. Like this is such a huge game, and it's become that because of the failings these previous weeks. And it really is. I don't think that you can overstate the importance of this game to this season where things stand at this very moment.
And that's one of the reasons why I opened by saying it the way I said it, that mathematically it's not necessarily crucial, but for the state of the program, the state of the team, the psyche, the opponent who might be probably one of the 2 or 3 worst teams in the conference.
Yeah,
If not, maybe they're the worst.
Exactly. That's
You
what I'm saying.
have to win the game.
And that's all the other stuff that adds in. Like, yeah, they're a really bad team, and Miami is not playing much better. So if you think, and I do definitively, that Virginia Tech is very bad, I do, but Miami is not playing much better. So if you go in there and you find a way to lose that to a team that we all will agree is very or pretty bad, what I make you?
North Carolina has the talent, and now that they've won their first couple games in conference play, they have the path to maybe take off and be the team in the division. They go on to the ACC, but they certainly are not even close to being, in a place where they can be looking past anyone. They're not that good, so they could be tripping up here and there as well. We've seen Georgia Tech. Now, talk about coaching, talking about what a difference a coach can make. We saw Jeff Collins get shown the door. Georgia Tech had lost 10 consecutive FBS games, and they've beaten 2 decent teams the last 2 weeks, Pitt and Duke. They suddenly have life. They're 2-1 in the division, in the conference. Or they're 2-1. Yeah.
So, just all of those things continue to support what I'm saying about this being the most important game. Because again, if you think that Georgia Tech is the worst team in captivity, they didn't won games these last 2 weeks. What's Miami done? Had a bye week and then lost to Carolina. I know which one I would rather have. 2 wins in the last 2 weeks. I'm not saying that I want to rather be Georgia Tech. No. I'm just saying, would you rather a bye week and a loss in your last 2 weeks as a program, or 2 wins in your last 2 weeks as a program in a vacuum? I would rather 2 wins, me myself personally. So again, if you're thinking, okay, they're the worst team in captivity, if they don't won 2 games recently, so again, you're putting that in stone as a win this season, which clearly it was at the beginning of the year because they were playing so badly under Jeff Collins. They done beat Pitt, who's not super great, and their coach decided that he was religiously opposed to scoring points or something. So, that's a wonderful or interesting decision. But you beat that team. You beat a Duke team who was 4-1. I want to say going in there.
Yep.
Look, man, that's not an easy win. But then again, Miami's not really had many easy wins recently. And I don't know if that's from a belief standpoint or whatever, but again, lots of slow starts, they were just doing, so much new stuff and, different than what they put on film and da-da-da-da. We don't ever do anything different than what we put on film. We never sprint out to a 17-0 start, last year at Pittsburgh, I know that we got off to awesome start. Besides that, and besides an FBS or FCS bye game against Central Connecticut or Bethune-Cookman or FAMU or something, when was the last time that Miami got up 24-7, 17-0, 17-3? It's
and this is one of the reasons why I didn't think it was a reclamation project, is that there are 7-5 teams out there that are clearly in their place in the league. Like, they're winning the games they're supposed to win, and the 5 that they lose, they're getting hammered. They're nowhere close to the top of the league. Miami goes 7-5, but they're showing the potential. They beat the ACC champions. They beat NC State, probably the second or third best team in the conference. They both beat Clemson, Pitt, and NC State. So they're showing what their ceiling is when they're together, playing on the same page and focused. And so that doesn't, speak to a reclamation project. All right.
Yeah, but
that's
where we are.
We will pick off the Super Chats. Falcon Rex, thank you so much. Miami's the best awful executing team in college. Falcon Rex, by the 2001 team out of the transfer portal. New King God. Thoughts on Bain being cornerback to...
No, Cristobal, Auburn.
Oh, okay.
He spelled it wrong. That's Ruben Bain from Miami Central. I don't believe that for a second. His brother works at Miami. He's visited Miami a bunch of times. Let the kid go through his process. I'll believe that Ruben Bain is going somewhere that's not Miami when I see it. And not even when I see an NLI or a press conference on signing day. When I see him in a uniform on a game day somewhere that's not Miami, like literally like suited and booted, like helmet on and everything, and then he goes out on the field for a different school, that's when I'll believe that. Ruben Hurricane, nickname Bain, right? I miss me with that. And, I got to figure out which account has that. But, I have a Cristobal, and I can put in Cristobal picks, and I have, and, whatever. But there's a lot of these writers for a lot of these sites who do it, and, they do it to drive traffic and just whatever. He threw it out there with, a 5 confidence, which is just he visited here 2 weeks ago, and he was at Miami last week, and Miami lost. So... I'll just put it in here and I'll put a 5 confidence on it for whatever. Cool, bro. Believe that if you want to. I don't. And that's a guy. I think Ruben Bain is like a Tracy Howard. No, sorry, excuse me. A Duke Johnson, like a Ray Joseph. Now, maybe he didn't announce as early as those guys, but I'll believe that he won't be a Miami Hurricane when I see him literally in a full uniform next fall at another school. Save this, print it, whatever you want to do. I'll believe that with Ruben Bain at that point in no time before.
29.5 sacks last year. Ruben Bain, 247 Sports top 100 player. Very nice. Kyler Miami Kane. Cam, my confidence is through the roof. Number 88, Young.
Absolutely, man. Like I said, Colby Young needs to play more, and I believe that Colby Young is going to play more, and I'm very excited to see him, see what he can do.
Falcon Rex, would a turf upgrade help this team? Oh, the turf jokes with Falcon Rex, that goes way back.
Okay. Hey, I'm not averse to trying anything, although they do a really good job with the turf at Hard Rock Stadium.
All right, Falcon Rex, appreciate it, man. And everyone else, thanks for contributing in every such way. Please hit the like button on your way out if you have yet to do so. Cam, what's going on at State of the U?
Got a bunch of stuff cooking over there, including our recent it's not a Fat Boy Eats per se, but we had a nice tailgating piece from Kappa Kane, so go check that out. I've got another couple pieces up there as well, so I'm not going to give you everything, but the website is right there in front of you, stateoftheu.com. We're open 24/7, 365. Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at The State of the U. My personal Twitter account is at Underwood Sports, where you learned that I came back on the last 4 laps of the Baku Grand Prix in Azerbaijan Grand Prix in Baku, and won with Pierre Gasly. Look, I came from 7th position to win in 4 laps. Even if you don't understand anything else, it can be exciting. So come on over and fan with us. Please interact. And again, if you ever see me out and everything, just come and say hi. Again, Andre, and to everybody, including the ageless wonder, Don Brown, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.
See everyone next Wednesday, 7 p.m.